But football without fans is nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch it, it becomes nothing.
Johnston. And a goal by Johnston. That makes it 2 by him.
We were magnificent. Magnificent.
Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson. That is sensational. Nakamura.
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
He's done it! Jarman's put it in, and without a doubt, the European Cup is on its way.
We'll never stop. We'll stop at half time, and we'll stop at the end of the game when we celebrate.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. It is Tuesday, the 4th of January 2022. And first off, I want to wish all the viewers a very happy new year. And to the new viewers who have not actually watched any of our material, please, if you enjoy the content today, please hit that like button, please hit the subscribe button, and please be kind enough to give us a wee comment or two. So I'm your host, Gavin, and joined tonight, we've got Paddy and McGinty. How you guys doing? And very happy new year to you both.
Good, mate. Happy New Year yourself. It's been a few weeks we've all been together on the weekly review, so it's good to get back in about it.
That's it. That's what you like, a menage a trois. How was the bells? Did you do it in style, or was it a quiet one?
Very quiet, mate. I actually need to apologise to everybody that's joined in the room because I forgot to press live, so we spent 5 minutes talking a lot of shite. So I had a good one, mate. Very quiet. Just looking forward to next year when hopefully everything's all woke back up again and we can get back to normality and we can go and get pushed for the bells. Parties galore.
That's it. By the way, speaking of pish, I never actually, speaking of getting pished, one thing that I never actually do is I've never done dry January, but would you believe it or not, I'm doing it. I think most of the people who watch this would think that I'm an alcoholic because I've normally always got a beer in my hand. But I thought I would challenge myself and do dry January. Never done it before. Not that I'm an alcoholic, but I just want to kind of start off the new year with a wee challenge. And Paddy, I think you're doing it as well. Is that right?
Yes, well, I'm an alcoholic, Gavin, and I'm honest with
you. Fair play to your honesty. He's only joking. McGinty, how are you doing and how was the bells?
Not too bad, Gavin. Happy New Year to both of you. The bells was good. It was nice. It was quiet. Stayed in with the lady friend and watched the usual BBC Scotland bringing the bells with some random music, Ceilidh dancing kind of my life. In fact, there wasn't even any Ceilidh dancing. It's COVID. We're not allowed to do that apparently. No, it was good. It was nice staying in the house, having a few drams, staying up to about, I think we stayed up to about 2 o'clock or something. It was good. It was good.
So sounds like a proper Chukter hugman, that?
Well, we had Edith Bowman on as well on the telly. She's a bit of the Chukters, Dundee or something.
Aye. So is Jackie Bird, has she chucked it now? Is she getting too old for it?
I have no idea. I actually thought it was going to be Jackie Bird when I turned the TV on. I thought I was going to see old Jackie there, and there it was. It was some blonde lass known as Edith Bowman, formerly of Radio 1, I think. We pretend we don't know who she is. But no, it was good. It sounded a bit kind of pre-recorded, I think. These things usually are. Let the guys get away and do their own parties anyway, but it was a bit of TV, a bit of a celebration, a bit of a chink of the glass at the bells. It was good.
Aye. Aye. Fuck it. Okay, so we are going live, unlike that pre-recording that you were watching with Edith Bowman. So let's get into it. January has started off rather promisingly. By the way, before I even say that, Paddy, massive congrats to you for the previous podcast recording. You had Dan Orlovitz, the J League soccer expert, the man who's American but lives in Japan. Both countries who you wouldn't really think are intrinsically linked to soccer or football, but the guy knows his stuff, and he was talking about the 3 new signings for Celtic. I was buzzing with that episode, really enjoyed it, so nice one. Did you enjoy it too, right?
I did, mate. Me and Daz had done that with Dan. Again, Dan was brilliant. He was on his holiday back in Philadelphia, back in his childhood room, he was telling me. So he took the time out to come on and join us and, give us as much kind of insight as we could get into the new guys, because it was a question that was burning for weeks and months, like, who is Maida, what kind of player is he, other than what you see on YouTube. you know, and maybe with the odd kind of faceless guy on Twitter or something saying about him. So it was good to actually get a reputable voice for Japan that actually watches these guys, writes about them week in, week out. So some of the insight that he gave was top class. So thanks again, Dan, for that.
And one thing I was particularly grateful for was he was like a pure man in demand in the past like 24 or 48 hours prior to him joining us. Like, I think he was on like Sky Sports News earlier on that day, or maybe the day prior to that. And on top of that, with everybody wanting a piece of him, he was like flying from Japan over to Philadelphia, going through all that COVID shit that you have to do whenever you fly. And obviously it's New Year's Day, you might spend it with your family, but somehow you managed to seduce him to get him online. I don't know if he was expecting to talk to you or something a wee bit more enticing, but you got him on one way or another, so congratulations, mate.
I don't know about the seducing part, but you just got to tell it, hey, own. I'm on Joe.
Aye. Anyway, as I said, it's a new year. January started off rather promisingly for us. And we've got, I can't even see that comment because I'm on my phone, so I'm read that out.
That's your Kenny. Happy New Year to you too, Kenny, mate. Happy New Year, boys. Looking forward to the show. No chance of dry January for me. Too old in the tooth for that crap. Absolutely. Just before we move on,
Kenny.
Just before we move on, we got a wee comment for Dale at the Celtic Supporters Podcast. Who, by the way, I've just watched his podcast there with Jamie Boyle, who's he's an author based down in England, and he's just done Alan Thompson's book. So Dale had Jamie Boyle on the show. So if anybody fancies if you watching that on YouTube, it's the Celtic Supporters Podcast. Absolutely brilliant podcast. Good pals of yours. And it was a good watch with Jamie Boyle. Some good insight. One of the things I took for that as well, just before we jump into my own one, he was talking about Didier Agat, and he says that everybody thinks that Didier Agat signed for Celtic for £50,000, and he says he actually signed for £27,000.
Even better.
So that's unbelievable. So sorry for stealing that content for your pod, Dale, but aye, fuck you.
That's more than a week's wage for Diddy.
They're not going to watch your podcast now because you've given away that little snippet. Yeah, dick. Aye, happy New Year to Kenny and to Dale for the Celtic Supporters Podcast.
And I think there's Daz's pal McCool. Excuse me if you're no mate, but really enjoyed the podcast with Dad. Superb stuff.
I thought Daz was making him up.
I mean, so did I thought he was maybe getting a couple of shekels to promote this guy, McCool. So. We have started off rather promisingly. We knew going into January that Postecoglou had said numerous times that he wanted to be quick off the mark, getting in the new players. That the situation was exacerbated by the fact that we were so depleted in terms of numbers. And we've had the new guy, Michael Nicholson, who's been made the permanent chief executive officer, and the man has delivered. McGinty, I know that you are the most cynical of cynics. So, by the way, that was a fucking evil as fuck laugh there, just ready for Dick Dastardly to come in.
I just knew where this was going.
So he's actually started off not too bad. So if you were to give him a clean slate and not ridicule him for being associated with a board member, a squad player, a team player. I think that was a quote attributed to him. But he's off the mark. He started off well, so you can only judge by what he delivers. And are you keeping an open mind about this man?
Yes, I'm now keeping an open mind. He's somewhat started well. Even when he was officially announced the other week there as being the permanent chief executive, I was very skeptical and very cynical about the whole thing. My first thoughts at that time was, what's he even done in his interim period? Obviously, something behind the scenes, obviously. It's somewhat the clean slate, but it's not. We can't ignore the fact that he has been here for years. We can't ignore what's happened in the last few years at the club. However, we can take him at this point going forward and say, look, the guy's got 3 new signings in the day before January, the day before the window opens. He's got 3 players in who are quite clearly all 3 players who Ange Postecoglou wants. This isn't the day old, we'll bring this guy in because he's got links to Dermot or links to Man City, or we used to play with him a couple of years ago, or whatever crap from previous Januaries that we signed. He's went and signed 3 key players that Ange has identified and Ange wants for his style and his setup. So from here, he gets a fresh breath, a clean slate, whatever you want to call it, and we'll judge him going forward at this point because he started well. He started with a bang.
And Paddy, I wanted to ask you, because McGinty just alluded to it, this is very much an Ange Postecoglou triple signing here. So his fingerprints are all over this. So if this goes south, then there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. So on one hand, it's very much relieving. It's good to see that we're giving him a free rein, identifying who he wants to get, and we're delivering on that. On the other hand, a wee bit more risk attached to Ange Postecoglou. Whereas if things go badly, such as like a Jetty or Barkas, we might have been able to blame other people in the past. So this is on the manager now. So does that put more pressure on Postecoglou?
No, I think it eases the pressure, Gav, because as I says to Dan on the last podcast, I was very, very surprised that for an unknown manager, a Postecoglou coming in to this side of the world, being able to go and get one of his first signings, or if not his first signing, I can't mind, was Furuhashi for Japan.
It was early on, one of his first, if not first. It was right early.
I'm sure it was his first, mate. I might be wrong, but for him to be able to go and get his own signing straight away was a good sign for me, because it means that like he's not just a body, he's not just a filler in the seat and the management, and like he's going to be told who's brought in. Maybe that's happened once or twice, like maybe McCarthy or Scales, but definitely when he got the power to bring Furuhashi in, that was a big plus for me. And now you see what's happened. All the coming months, these guys' names have been leaked to it as well, and you know, we make it official a day before the transfer window opens. When have you ever heard of that with Celtic? And it's not just that. I mean, Maeda, Hatate, and Gucci, as he wants to be called, Ida Gucci. 3 guys in the door. We're looking like we're going to be signing the young guy for Sligo Rovers, Johnny Kenny. I know that's not a very great big shakes, but that's a good player to have into the Celtic B team. But more interestingly, it's looking like everybody's breaking with the news now, because it's on Sky Sports, and they're usually one of the last ones to get it on.
Bring up the yellow ticker tape. Yellow ticker tape.
I know.
I'm expecting a shuffling of papers here.
It looks like Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota deals are started for permanent transfers. So I tell you what, mate, see if we get Maeda. Now, bear in mind, Maeda's on loan, right? So his transfer fee doesn't come into the equation until the next set of window. Get Maeda on loan. Hatate, Gucci, Johnny Kenny, Jota, and Carter-Vickers in one transfer window, mate, I will be absolutely delighted. But I don't think that will be the end of it. I think there'll be another couple of signings coming in. But if it's only them, then credible. And I've got 10 years worth of January transfer windows to go through. So hopefully this is about the only good one out of the lot of them.
Unfortunately, it looks like it might be the only good one out of the lot, because likewise, I've been doing a little bit of research myself. That looks like a blank bit of paper. There you go.
I thought you drew a matchstick man on there.
Well, I did on the other side, then I realised I had to do some real research. But yeah, looking back at it, 10 years worth of signings in January, and I'm counting maybe 6 at best that were worth signing. So for me, it's a great start, as you said there earlier. Bringing these 3 players, for me, it's not pressure on Ange anymore. It's the players that Ange wants. I think the pressure would come if he was getting handed more signings that he doesn't want for the first team, and then expected to transform them into some sort of Ange philosophy style players. He's now signed players he's worked with, he's worked closely with in the league and stuff. He knows all about these guys. There's no pressure from me at this point. He knows what he's getting. He knows
exactly, and that's what I meant by it's going to ease his pressure, because we all know that we've got injury crisis before the football finished there for the festive periods. We were lacking in players that were kind of flair players, like your Jota being out, you know, this guy, that guy. He's now got 3 guys in. He's going to have big Chris Julian coming back for injury, because he's already stated that he's hoping that he's going to be ready to go as soon as we start back. And, you know...
We will see. We will see about Julian.
I thought he was coming back in September. He's still not here, so we'll wait and see.
I know, but they did say during that time, like, he's had a couple of wee mini setbacks, but nothing too major. So things are looking good. I tell you, I'm dying to see a partnership of Julian and Vickers at the back with Maida going mental.
So I do want to talk about the other rumours, the other activity, but without lingering too much on the Japanese guys, because I know we did like a full recording of that in the prior episode. But McGinty, which out of the three are you most excited about? Who do you expect the most from what you've seen from the YouTube clips and from our man Dan?
Before Dan came on and gave us the lowdown and a bit more in-depth kind of excitement and info on the guys, I was all for Daizan Maeda. He's the one for me. I think he's going to complete that forward line of Jota, Kyogo and Maeda, with the likes of Forrest and Abada being able to support them when they need to. I think that's 5 for 3 positions, which would give us a decent amount of depth, aside from some mad injuries that obviously we were seeing just before the break there. But I think that's the most exciting one, because we know he's a joint top goal scorer. I think it is in the J-League beside Kyogo. We know he's got blistering pace. He dribbles. He's strong. He's direct with the ball. He's going to get us off our seats. However, since listening to Dan, I'm getting more excited about Ideguchi. I think he's going to be that. I think you've seen he's actually like a number 6, a kind of sitting midfielder sort of thing. And I'm excited to see how he's talking about him, that he could end up being that player who sits next to McGregor instead of McCarthy or Beaton, who've kind of tried to fit in at times, and allow McGregor then to go support Rogic. So it's almost like McGregor's going to replace Turnbull, and Ideguchi could replace McGregor, and that kind of and where they sit on the pitch sort of thing. And then also after that, Hatate is the third one on my list. I think Hatate's going to be a bit of a utility player. Let's see if he's going to be left back or centre mid. But judging by from what Dan's saying, likely centre mid. So that's depth there. But Maeda's the one I'm excited for.
Paddy, before we move on to yourself, because I'm eager to get your thoughts, I think I'm kind of in harmony with McGinty on that one. For Maeda, I do expect the most from him. But in terms of Ideguchi, that's the one that intrigues me most, and I'll tell you why. We've already got we've got Beaton, who actually coincidentally has been doing rather well in the past few months. Very dependable due to this wee crisis of injuries. But we've got him, we've got Sorrow, and we've got McCarthy. McCarthy, of course, a 4-year contract that we've shelled out for that man. So I'm wondering, what does Ideguchi bring to the team that Postecoglou is confident about, that justifies his signing over the other 3 guys who play in a similar position? That's the most intriguing thing for me. And we can watch all the YouTube clips, but until you actually see it in the flesh, that's when we'll find out. But apart from that, Maeda is the one that I think will be the bigger impact, the quicker impact. That's why I predict. What's your thoughts, mate?
Much the same as you guys. Maeda, the thought of him terrorising Premiership defences is, it's frightening. It's actually getting me a wee bit tingling in the trousers. I'm looking forward to seeing him running riot at Ibrox. Celtic part first, obviously, before that. I think looking into it, he's probably going to be, if he's playing and if he can make a mark, he's going to be on the right hand side. You're going to have Jota on the left, Furuhashi through the middle, and Maeda on the right. But that's a forward line that cannot intertwine and interchange. You know what I mean? They don't just need to be static in these positions. They can all move about and they can bamboozle defences, which is great. And if you've still got your wing backs coming up at the back of them, you know what I mean? Things are looking good. I was most curious about Hatate because I was a wee bit kind of unsure about his position. But again, since the last podcast, we've been told he's actually registered in the league, well, the J-League, as a striker. He only played He only played left back because he was asked to play left back because of injuries. So he's not a left back. Agreed. He's a kind of midfielder. So he's not coming as a left back, which we thought originally. He's going to be a midfielder. That's a wee guy. He'll just be a utility player, I think. He'll come in and play when he's asked to play. But
what do we think that Ideguchi is going to take place over McCarthy? Because let's be honest, McCarthy is not an Ange Postecoglou signing. So do we think Ideguchi is going to take that kind of squad position to then be the rotation with Beaton, McGregor, Turnbull? So that's 4 for the midfield too. But then you've got Rogic, who he's going to need a rest time, which maybe Turnbull can fill in for, or maybe a Hatate kind of. He's a striker come midfielder who can happen play left back almost Sutton-esque.
Well, you look at the players that's come in, right? There's no anybody there, possibly other than for me, Maida, who's going to walk into the team. The only reason Maida would walk into the team is because of got injuries out wide and Mikey Johnson's pish. You know, Beaton's been a revelation in the last few weeks for me, and I've been a guy who's slaughtered him for years. Again, I'll always hold my hands up. He's been brilliant. McCarthy, he's been fucking pish. So it goes ahead of McCarthy for me. And as you say, hopefully that pushes McGregor on. But you look at Itaguchi and what we've been told, the last podcast, is that he's a deep line midfielder. He'll get his foot on the ball. His vision is kind of one of his biggest attributes. He's not a tackler, but what he'll do is he'll get himself into position before he has to make a tackle. So he'll try and read the ball, almost like a
Maldini.
Well, in my head, I'm thinking of Busquets, but you know, sure.
That famous quote from Maldini. Maldini would say that as soon as you have to make a tackle, that's when you know you fucked up. You know, the whole philosophy is make sure that you're in the position to avoid having to make a tackle.
Did they not say that if you're a defender and you need to make a tackle, you're a shite defender? Something like that.
Something like that, aye.
Well, listen, if the great Maldini says that, I'm going to disagree with him because Bobo Baldi was the best defender ever. He loved a tackle.
He didn't enjoy football. He just liked tackling. That's what he would do.
Fair enough. There's So we'll see what happens. But as I say, I think the one that's probably going to get the team first due to circumstances would be Maida. That's the one I'm looking forward to. But I'm looking forward to the next coming days, and hopefully we hear a lot more about Jota and Carter Vickers, because for me, we absolutely 100% need to sign these two guys. And I tell you what, Gav and Mr. McGinty, see if we do sign them, I was totally wrong, because I thought that if we did sign one of them, it would have been one of them only. So for Celtic to go out and do their business early with the Japanese lads, and then potentially to go and pay like £10 million for two players at the start of the transfer window is astonishing. It really is, because we are historically
tight
bad. We're historically tight as fuck. We're really, really bad. We dragging transfers out, trying to penny pinch, and try to negotiate to get the lowest possible price. But there has been a couple of times that we've actually went out and just paid the price. Turnbull being the last one. Motherwell wanted $4 million. Right, there's $4 million. Gives him. And you've seen how that can pay off. He's not been great this season, but he has been good. He's a promising.
There's talent there from Turnbull, and I think he needs to be mindful how young he is in his career as well. Same as Stephen Welsh. They need to be developed properly into a 60-game season. I know it sounds daft when I think he's 21 now, or whatever, but he had that whole season and a half out through injury. For me, I think we've done well. Go back to Michael Nicholson and kind of what kind of credit do we give him? A lot. And see if he goes through, Gavin, and gets Carter Vickers and Jota signed up this window. And for me, the key thing that we need to get after all this now is a left back. For me, that's a great window and a great squad depth that we've got. I like to see two players in every position. And I think you could argue that there is two players in every position if we can get a quality left back in. And I think these things that Michael Nicholson's doing right now are things that should be applauded. Being proactive in getting these two players loan deals made permanent, getting the three Japanese boys in, and if he can push the push the train on forward, or whatever you want to call it, and get that left back in, and if there's anybody else at Anjaspor, then obviously go for that as well. But if you can get that kind of core in, I think that's a great window and a great start from Nicholson.
Well, it has obviously started off as a good window, and Paddy was talking about it with Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers. Now, I know that all it is right now is like smoke and mirrors. We want to see something actually in place. Until that does happen, all I'm doing right now is just talking without any kind of meat on the bones and such. But if we were to get Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota fully fledged, like paid up members of the squad, permanent, that's what I mean, then if we could do that, I would be over the moon, because I am going back several years before I'd be able to pluck out a loan signing for Celtic who has made such an impact on the squad. Jota has been tremendous. Not only is he dependable, but he's like a kind of a Paddy Roberts type player. I kind of get fans off their feet, or off their arses. Sorry. Jota is fantastic, and if we were to get him for the rumoured 6.5 million, obviously it's a loan signing with the obligation to buy. So if we were to make that permanent, it'd be amazing. And moving on to Cameron Carter-Vickers, again with our defence, it has been a wee bit rocky, especially the first few games at Starfelt. I do have a bit of faith in Starfelt, but while he had license to fuck up occasionally, it was Cameron Carter-Vickers who was the rock at centre back. And I think right now we're 6 points behind Rangers. But what we've done so far in the league, what we've done so far in Europe, that would not have been achieved without Cameron Carter-Vickers being such a dependable rock at the back. So if we could make both of those loan signings permanent, I would be over the moon. But the question is, there's willingness, obviously, from the parent club. So Benfica. Benfica have got their hands tied because they've already signed the contract that if Jota agrees to it, then he becomes a Celtic player. With Tottenham, I don't think that arrangement is in place, so we still have to negotiate. We still need to finalise the transfer fee. But the question in my mind right now is the willingness of the players. So sticking with Cameron Carter-Vickers, his last season was at Bournemouth, and then after doing fairly well, he's now a Celtic player. So does that scream to me that there was a lack of appetite for other English Championship clubs or English Premier League clubs to take a punt on him? I don't know, but it is what it is. He's up here. I hope that we've done enough to entice him to stay at Celtic. And again, with Jota, it's up to him. The question is, does he want to stay in Glasgow? I think right now he's went over to Portugal, and thank God for that, because why would you just want to spend a winter in Glasgow?
I think he's recovering, Gav. I think he's doing a bit of recovery training in Portugal. It's nothing like he's been called back to the club or he's getting homesick or any of this nonsense.
So it all comes down to their willingness, their appetite. Do they want to? Have they bought in enough with the Postecoglou dream that they want to be permanent members of Celtic, or will they hedge their bets, wait till the end of the season and progress and impress like they're doing right now? And then see who bats their eyelids at them. That's what I'm scared about. McGinty, what's your thoughts? Are you nervous like me? Because you know how tantalisingly close it is in our grasp. If they want to agree, then we'll be fucking brilliant. Or at least I'll be happy.
I'll be ecstatic if they agree. I like to think when these deals are made, initially the loan deal with the option to buy. Let's take Jota as the example. I thought Vickers might have had it in his deal as well, but seemingly maybe not. But I like to think when players agree to go on loan with that option in there, they've already, in principle, agreed that they would like to be there permanently at the outset. Maybe things can change throughout the season. They don't play and they don't want to sign John Guidetti sort of thing. Or maybe they get more wowed over by the club and the sport and they just want to sign immediately. Hopefully that's what's happening with Jota. But I like to think that they've already got an understanding that they do want to be here long term, and that guys like Jota and Carter Vickers, especially Carter Vickers, actually, he's coming to Celtic to kickstart his career. If Carter Vickers has any sense, you will sign for Celtic permanently for another 2 years and then move back down south, because he's going to get European football, consistent
exposure.
60 games, exposure, all the rest of it, good experience, as opposed to the loan spell for 6 months at Burnley, a loan spell at Bournemouth, a loan spell across the wherever. And it doesn't really, for me, that doesn't really develop players when you're chopping and changing every 6 months or a year like that. To stay at Celtic for 3 years in total would develop Carter Vickers a lot. He'd then be, 26? We would get money for him selling on, and he would be an established player who could go back to the EPL for an Everton club per se, or a West Ham, whatever, and actually play at a decent level in the EPL rather than bouncing around the Championship. The guy's got money. Clearly, you've been signed at Spurs as a promising youngster. I don't think that's going to be at the forefront of his mind right now when you figure he's 23 going on 24. He surely wants to kickstart his career. I think Jota's the one that's probably going to get more suitors. He's the sort of player that a lot of European teams would love to have. But again, if we've got that kind of deal in place to sign him for, was it 6.5 million or so? I like to think that Jota's already in his mind somewhere accepted that he wants to be at Celtic and understands what Celtic can offer him. Because again, was he 22? 2 years at Celtic? You would be signed back up by most mid-table La Liga clubs.
This is the thing. Isn't it? You look at all the kind of visuals for the players on the park. You look at all the snippets for the audio. They're all saying that the atmosphere within the team, it's like a family atmosphere. Everybody's playing for each other. Everybody's getting on so well. And you look at guys like Vickers, who has been out on maybe 4, 5, 6 kind of loan spells. You look at Jota, who
Rayo Vallecano.
He's at Vallecano. Benfica's bought this fucking multi-million-pound winger. They've also got a new manager in kind of recently as well. So if he gets back to Benfica, then he's got all that to contend with. He's got more clubs to go and look at. It'll be the same with Carter Vickers and all, because he's not going to get a game for Spurs. So he's then got to go and try and find another club. Whereas they're young guys, they're welcome here. They're feeling welcome. They're enjoying being on the pitch. They know they've already got some success with the League Cup. There's a chance that they can go and win the league. There's a chance that potentially next season they'll be in the Champions League if they can win the league. So this is a time again where it's down to the player. But I think we're lucky that the players that we're trying to get to now, I think they've got that mentality in them. They'll see success over money. Like, you know, they're not going to come in like if Redden comes in with fucking 20 grand a week for Vickers, he's not going to go, all right, fuck you, say, like, go to Redden. I think he'd be like that. Do you know what? These guys have given me the platform. I'm going to come on and take it on for them and play for supporters. I think,
Paddy, that was a conversation that was actually happening on one of the threads on one of the message boards. Was what if a club comes in for Carter Vickers and offers money for them? And I don't think that any of the big teams in the EPL are going to take that risk on Carter Vickers just yet. Spurs don't have him in their plans. And if Spurs don't have you in the plans, then the likes of Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea, they're not interested. They're not going to look at you. So you have to look at the mid-table EPL clubs. And again, I don't think enough of them are sold on him to come in and say, here's 60 grand a week. Mm-hmm. But your Reddings and your Middlesbrough of the world, maybe they will come in and say, here, we'll give you 15, 20, 25 grand. And maybe that is enough to turn his head if Celtic are daft enough to be like, oh, we'll haggle over 8 or 10 grand. Be there. You know what? Cut that out. But we're being very hypothetical here. But if that's the competition as that level of club who are going to offer him 20, 25 grand, then that's what Celtic should be paying for a defender of the quality of Carter Vickers. We shouldn't be knocking around with 12 grand players.
I think they will do that, because every single sign for this transfer window and before this transfer window has been nothing but positive for me. I've never seen it in my life. I say I've sat and wrote down the last 10 years of Celtic's winter transfer periods. Sorry, mate, on you go.
What McGinty, sorry, Paddy, I've totally interrupted you, but McGinty earlier on was talking about Michael Nicholson has been, and by the way, we're giving him too much of an emphasis here because it is a kind of a joint board decision primarily, I think, whenever we make transfer activity. But McGinty was talking about us being proactive in the January transfer window, and I agree that we are being proactive, but we're doing it from a position of not failure, but a position of weakness. And that position of weakness stems from last season, where we had too many loan signings, and regardless of them leaving, we had players leaving their captain, our best defender, our best attacker, a flair player in Ryan Christie. We know all those departures. So from a position of weakness, that's why we've had to be proactive. And coming back to the point about do we have the financial might, the muscle, to make the signings permanent for Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers? I think we do. No, I'm not the treasurer of Celtic, so I don't have intimate knowledge of that sort of thing, but I would like to think that we do have that. And do I think that we should do it? I think we are obliged to make those signings permanent if there is a willingness from those two parties, because if you take away those two players, then fuck me, we might not be back at square one, but we're at a very squarish position anyway, because you take away those two stalwarts, the impact that they've had this season.
Think, Gavin, what that does going into next season, if we get these two tied down, maybe it doesn't happen in January, maybe it happens in February or March, but we get these two tied down. and then think about what this squad looks like for change. For once in our lives, we go, not in our lives, but once in the last 10, 20 years, we can actually go into a Champions League group stage or qualifiers if that's where our luck falls, with Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Julian and Welsh, 4 established, decent centre-backs going into the early part of the season. When's the last time we did that? But if you take Carter Vickers out, you're running the risk there.
This revolution that Ange Postecoglou has started, the fruits of his labour will only be fully felt next season. Yeah. If these 2 stalwarts, as I said, Cameron Carter Vickers and Jota, if they are taken away from Celtic at the end of the season, it will disrupt the progression, and it would be a bit of a stake in the heart to the progress that Postecoglou has made. That's why I think it's imperative that we get them on board, because next season we will be, if things keep plodding along nicely, next season we're going to be laughing at how good things are, because we've heard that from other people who've been commenting, the people from down under talking about Postecoglou and the success that he's had, whereas they've said that the first season it's a bit of a toil for various factors such as injuries, getting players on board, but the following season, that's where you see the proper success. Paddy, what do you make of that point?
Do you know, Gav, I think actually when you look at that, right, and that's been a case, right, that every single second season under Ange has been the superior season. But Ange hasn't walked into a team at the class of Celtic with the level of players, so he's no needed. I don't think he'll need to wait until the second season until he sees the fruits of his labours, because he's walking in finally to a top team with top players that he can mould right away, and that's been happening. You know, he's been getting.
Tangible success such as like winning the league this season. It's not a guarantee that we're going to win the league.
No, of course not. But I think what he's done now is he's already put us into a position where we can challenge for the title, because we're only 2 games off being equal with the other mob. I mean, 6 points. That's achievable to certainly bring back and go in front. But I think what he's done so far, take away all the negatives, overall, absolutely brilliant. He's come in, galvanised a full team, brought in a brand new team with 12 new players, basically, won a League Cup on the first 6 months, absolute bedlam. So, if he could do that in the first half of the season, what he can do in the second half of the season with more of his own players in, players back to injury and new faces in, I'm absolutely excited. I don't want to go overboard, but I'm really, really excited, Gav.
And we're going to talk about the outgoings, the rumoured outgoings of Celtic, but who wants to pick up the baton and not make me look like a complete idiot? But we brought in an 18-year-old, an Irish boy for Sligo Rovers. Somebody want to say the guy's name, because it's on the tip of my tongue.
Johnny Kenny.
And what do we know about the guy?
He's a young boy, Gav, 18-year-old, Sligo Rovers. He's quite a promising young laddie. Decent enough size, strong enough, direct. He's definitely a player that we need to bring in, because, you know, we've seen the B games. We've seen the young team for Celtic. They're very, very light up top. You know, there's no really many strikers in the young team that you could see pushing on and coming at the first team, other than what's his face, the young lad that made his debut. The other big guy made his debut.
Oh, Dawson.
Dawson. Obviously, we've brought him in to come into the B team. He's had to come into the first team because of injuries, which is great because it gives him that exposure at the first team. He'll go back in. Hopefully, his performances will improve in the B team. But we still need another couple of players for up front in that, because it's an area that we haven't developed on since, I don't know, Tony Watt maybe. You know what I mean? We've not had a striker coming through for the youth team who's made an impact at any level other than Watt. So I'm happy with it, mate. It's another signing for the future. I know we've done that a lot. We've signed guys with raw talent, raw ability, all this shit. But it's a no risk signing. I mean, Hibs were wanting him, and he's chose to come to us over Hibs. So he's not signed yet, but it should be over the line in the next day or two, Gav.
Aye. I wonder if Sean Maloney had any hand in trying to get him for Hibs. And by the way, I hope he does well. For Hibs, I want to see him excel. But anyway,
just on that one, Gav, Ewan Henderson's going to Hibs.
Good move on loan.
Yeah, I think it might be a full transfer. I'm not quite sure, but he's
Fair play. Good
obviously,
move from good level.
obviously there's Maloney using his Celtic connections already.
Well, let's start off with
his
that.
brother did well there, so yeah.
So the rumours is that he's been told that he's got, I think it's 6 months left on the contract. He's been told that his future doesn't lie at Celtic. That is the rumour that I've heard. So who wants to pick up on that one? I'm going to talk about Urhoghide later, so I'll pick up the baton for that. But Henderson, I think he's like early 20s. He scored his first goal, I think, against Betis in that victory at Parkhead, about not even a month ago, like a few weeks ago.
Yes.
But maybe the writing was on the wall for him.
He's one of these players again. He's a wee bit. I don't want to compare it with his brother, right? But obviously he went to Hibs and then ended up going to Barry in Italy, and he's made a career out in Italy and the Serie B. But you look at Henderson. I think he's 19, 20. He's a player that you don't really know his actual position yet. He's a guy that you can just kind of fling on it right mid, centre mid, can up front, can go and grab you a goal, but it doesn't strike you as being one of these boys that's going to come in and cement a position. So I think if Andrew's assessed his role in the squad and kind of looked at his development and thought maybe, do you know what, your development's best served elsewhere. On you go. Good luck to you. Let's see what you can do. I think him going to Hibs, it's a really, really good move, and obviously wish him all the best. Aye.
And moving on to Urhoghide now, I think the rumour is that we're going to loan him out to a team, whether that be a Scottish-based team, which I'd be happy to see, because we actually get to see it with our own eyes for a Scottish team rather than going down to, I don't know, a League One team. I don't think he's good enough for the Championship, and I'll explain why. So I think we've seen him a couple of times in pre-season whenever we were down in Wales for a few games there. And I got to see him in the flesh playing against Real Betis. Now, when I saw his name on the lineup, I almost spat my bottle out, man, because I was like, oh my God, I do not think that guy is good enough. And I think he's at that kind of awkward age where he's like probably too old for the B team, but he's not good enough for the senior team. So when I watched him in the Real Betis game, he was playing at right back. Now, whenever we bought him, I think he was rumoured to be either a right back who can play at centre back, or the other way around, a centre back who can play at right back. But anyway, against Betis, what a game to actually make your debut in. He looked raw. He looked that raw that I think you need to invent a new word to describe him. Now, I do not label myself as an overly negative person, and especially after learning a lesson with Ralston, I am very, very reluctant to write off a young prospect at Celtic, especially someone who occupies the right back berth. But this guy, as I said, very raw. His running style, it was more of a galloping style. He
like a big horse.
He looked like a horse, man. He looked like an intimidating horse. And at one point, he get the ball up. I mean, by the way, the opening part of the Betis game, he looked very, very shaky. He grew into the game to an extent, but I'll use that term lightly, grew into the game. By the way, I wish the guy well, but I'm just getting carried away talking about his performance here. But at one point, he get the ball at right back, and he had like half the park to gallop into because there was no one opposing him. So he kept on running. And you're watching the Celtic teammates on the left-hand side try to run up as well, keep pace with him, and hopefully he'll put in a cross. And eventually, one of the Spaniards came out to meet him, but it's like he never had any guile whatsoever to actually knock it past him and run on. It looked as if he was incapable of changing direction, and all the Spaniard had to do was just stick out his foot and take the ball, snatching like candy for a baby, and then the Spaniards started counter-attacking. It looked very, very one-dimensional. And that's what I mean by raw. I think that the guy might have potential. Certainly he's got physicality. And he actually did do all right in the game, especially in the second half. He kind of came onto a game and he put in a couple of crosses. He did okay in the box. But I think football brain, he doesn't really have much of a football brain. He was getting caught out far too often. But bringing it back to the point about January transfer windows, outgoing. So that is a rumour that he's going to get loaned out to somebody. I don't know who, but I'll be interested to see his progress. I wish him well, but he is off it. He is miles off it to actually make an impact right now. And I think it's Kyoto Postecoglou, if that's what the rumour, if the rumour is true, it's Kyoto Postecoglou to be up for it and say, right now, you've got no place in the team, move out and develop. And lastly, the other one we've got, I think, is Shaw. McGinty, do you know much about Shaw? And I think the rumour is he might be getting loaned out.
I don't know enough about him, no more than what we've already seen. But for me, Shaw, Ugiri, they're the kinds that, they're kind of not long in the door at Celtic. If they're not going to cut it in the first team and they're too old or whatever for the B team, they need to go out on loan, preferably to a Scottish Premiership team or down south to a reasonable level. Look at McGregor, a few years back at Notts County. They need to go out to these places. I agree with Henderson's assessment. If Ange has deemed him no kind of up to scratch here for whatever reason, his development's better served elsewhere, then yeah, it's probably right. Because as fans, we've seen enough of him. But for Shaw, I think we saw glimpses of Shaw being a steady kind of guy who should be able to have confidence going into our first team. But I don't think he's quite ready at the level for us, not for what Ange is trying to get out of this squad. And definitely not when you look at who we're bringing in and the style of play that we're trying to play. So Shaw going on loan would be a fantastic thing, as would Urhoghide. The other one I want to mention, which I don't think has been mentioned too much lately, is the young centre-back boy in the B team just now, the Busan Lowell. I want to see what's going to happen with him. I think from what we saw of him when we went to see the Colts games together, I think he's head and shoulders above the Colts level. And I think he could creep into the first team. So do we see him coming up in the next 5 months? Probably not. But I think I would like to see him go out on loan to another, maybe a championship club in Scotland, but preferably a Premiership club, because I think he could hold his own at a Ross County or something.
That's a shout, because the guy got Academy Player of the Year for Watford, and then we snatched him, and I think that they were quite furious about that. And as you said, we watched him. I know that for that age group, sometimes you do find in young boys is that some people, their physical development is just far more ahead than other people, and that was definitely obvious. But his actual football talent, that was not a miss. He actually had a part in one of the goals where he found himself on the right wing and took it around a player and played like a brilliant ball through, and that led to the second goal for Celtic in that game that we watched. But a player that I'm happy to kind of follow his progress, and it's that kind of it's a difficult golf where you're too good for the Colts, but you've got no experience of playing like proper senior football. Where do you go? And maybe that is the next best thing. Paddy, I know that you've been doing a lot of homework right now about historical January transfer windows. I don't have any material in this at all, so I'll just agree or disagree. But what have you got for us tonight, mate?
Oh well, I've certainly got too much to run through individually, but I was just,
how many pages have you got?
2.
All right, okay.
Sorry, one's got that much right on it. I don't know if you can see that.
One was probably still his Christmas list, to be fair.
Aye, one's a picture that says Anthony is a cunt.
Language.
I know. I just, as I say, I'm taken aback by how progressive we've been in this transfer window and how much that we're getting business done early. And I was trying to think of a time when I'd ever heard of that before with Celtic. As I say, we all know what the Celtic board's been like. We all know what they're like in terms of approaching players, trying to sign players, trying to fucking steal as many pennies back out the deal as possible. But in terms of quality, as I say, I had a wee look back at the last 10 years worth of January transfer windows, and already this has been the best. I mean, just the last few years, I'll just repeat it. The last couple of years. I mean, last season we brought John Joe Kenny on loan, right? The season before that, we paid $3 million for Klamala, $2 million for Sorrell. The season before that, it was fucking $1.5 million for Bio, Shred, $1.8 million. The season before that, we paid $2.5 million on loan for Musonda. Wasn't even a transfer; it was a loan. Jack Henry, Marvin Compere, guys like this. Kouassi the season before that. I mean, it's a sad actual read a 10 years worth
bad.
of
That's bad.
transfer windows, mate. It's terrible. I actually was getting a bit sick reading over it. I mean, out of in the last 10 years, we've paid roughly the ballpark region of £27 million in transfers, Gav, right, on 17 players, right, 11 of which were loans, right, and out of all these, 17 players 17 players bought for the £27 million plus 11 players on loan. So that's 28 players in the last 10 years, just in January transfer windows. And out of all those players, I think McGinty's probably got the same guys wrote down, but I've got 6 players.
I'm up to 8, going back to the season 2010, 2011.
Out of all the guys, there's literally 6 players that I can mention who had some spell of decency or goodness for Celtic. I've got Eric Sviatchenko, right? He was decent. Obviously, we got a few quid back on him. Stuart Armstrong, him and Mackay Stevens came in. Him and Mackay Stevens came in the last few hours of the transfer window.
I've put Mackay Stevens down as somebody who did us a turn, as a past marks.
And what was it, Holden Keys or something?
Aye, pretty much. But as far as the players who were worth signing in January who actually went on to do something, I put Gary Mackay-Stevens in that list. I've got 8. You've got 6.
Every time I hear Gary Mackay-Stevens, I just think about that story of him ending up in the river.
It's the accent as well. I think he's from Thurso, I think it is up that way, and it's like pure hello there, mate. My name's Gary Mackay-Stevens. How are you? It's not Stevens, it's Stephen.
I'm hearing Kevin Bridges coming through.
Aye, that's a Kevin Bridges sketch.
Aye, anyway. Back to the sides, I say Eric Sviatchenko, Stuart Armstrong, Stefan Johansson, because obviously he get Player of the Year.
Aye.
Lee Griffiths was a prolific goal scorer. Tom Rogic and Nico Lustig, out of 28 players in 10 years, £27 million spent. That's shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I've got the same players plus 2. One of which is Gary Mackay-Stevens. I can see the comments already. Lots of people question me on that one.
By the way, I'm going to bring up every single one of the comments because they're right.
Let me go.
You carry on. I'm going to bring up the comments.
He played. That's the point. He played and he did a turn. He helped out in some capacity. So was he good? No, really. But he did something. There's other people that we signed in January transfer windows who've gone on to do nothing, not even kick a ball for us. He at least played. We got some spell out of him. The only other one that I've added from your 6 that makes up my 8 is that I went 1 year further back and added Chris Commons in there from the 2010-2011 season. He was a January transfer.
Yes. By the way, do you know what came to mind as well? See, when I was looking through all the transfers that came in and out, do you remember fucking Chris Commons went to Hibs?
Aye, after Rodgers got his number along with a couple of other ones in that click and got him straight back out.
I totally
forgot. Did he play a game for them?
He played 5 games, scored 2, and then retired. And then went on to have a rather seedy future with Chris Boyd on Sky Sports as his lapdog.
Was he not promised?
In that respect, fuck you, Chris and Chris.
Was he no promise? Was the story that he was promised by Lennon that he would get a coaching role at Celtic and shit like that?
I don't know.
And then I think the board and Peter Law put a fucking a pin in that one and told him to get to. But Commons sounded out by Rodgers on day one, along with, unfortunately, guys like Mulgrew and stuff. He found that in Stokes, he found that clique. And one of the best things Rodgers did in his early time in his tenure was get them out and start afresh.
Yeah, Commons was like on his day for Celtic. Like, by the way, the impact that he made in the Rangers games, he took to it like a fish to water. On his day, he was indispensable. I know that he was a fat man at the end of the day, but he was really, really good. And those like eight players that you mentioned, Paddy, the majority of them are very, very good servants for Celtic. Who was it? Lustig?
They weren't, Gav, but my point was like
the conclusion. It's a mixed bag. It's very, very much a mixed bag.
No, it's not even a mixed bag, Gav. I mean, I'm just looking at the amount of absolute pish players that we have brought in January windows in the last decade, and it's terrible. I mean, like, we're talking about spending money on Jota and Carter Vickers. Every single season we've been out and spent money on guys that were never ever going to be good enough to play for Celtic. All right, we took a punt on a few players, but like fucking Colin, Kazim Richards, Carlton Cole.
Can I make some points as well? Just kind of moving on slightly.
Yes.
So when I done my research earlier, I actually went for the entire season, summer transfer window along with January, and I've got 11 or so seasons here. I've marked on basically who is the manager, and I've penciled in when John Park left, which was just before Brendan Rodgers' season, or rather just at the start of it, 16-17. And it's interesting to note that of the 8 or 6 players that me and Paddy have just mentioned, they all came pre-Rodgers. You know what Rodgers has done, and arguably potentially what Andrew's about to do, kind of, although obviously the 3 Japanese boys have thrown a spanner in that work, but he is really rebuilding a whole squad here. But prior to Rodgers, all those signings were done in January, but see, once Rodgers came in, he didn't have to do January signings. Of that note, Lennon had to go out and sign January transfer signings. But come Rodgers' time, sure, at points we could have probably done with better players, whatever, but he got the job done early enough in the summer window. Not early enough, but he got the job done in the summer window, and his team was built for the season. Because I've not got any note of any player over the last 3 or 4 years of January transfer windows that are actually worth talking about, if any of them actually signed. Or real note, obviously you look at it, Toljan and stuff like that through Lennon's career. Let's just know.
Bad. He was bad.
But it just as I'm looking at, there's no player of note that signed in January, if any, that you would really talk about. And we still won trebles, we still won leagues and cups all the way through there, apart from last year, obviously. And it's not needed, whereas Lennon did need that previously. I don't know what point really I'm going for here. Just
the point that I would interject with the Rodgers era. The main competition we had domestically was Aberdeen, so that's one point. And the bigger kind of competition, the bigger onus to do well was in Europe. So you can imagine Celtic not splashing out the cash in January. The other thing is that apart from outside that window, the Rodgers era, sometimes like in January you need to, because you're doing it from a position of desperation where you might not have done your planning properly in the summer, or the other thing would be if like one of your key players is out injured and you have to bring in someone. So sometimes it is reactionary to do the January thing. But I guess from like the conclusion I'm making from all the players that Paddy has listed and that you've listed, McGinty, is that on most occasions you're going to get it wrong, but there will be gems to be found, because Paddy, you said about 8 players, I think about 6 of them have done very, very well for Celtic. I don't think it justifies the policy of you should never do January signings. I just think that proceed with caution. That's what I would say.
This is my whole point, Gav. When I'm looking at this, what I'm seeing in this January transfer window, it's bringing this up for is because I can, as a total positive. This is a total positive for me, mate, because you look at that, you look at the amount of shite that we've brought in, you look at the amount of time that it took us to bring all this shite in, guys coming in at the last minute on loan, fucking, what do you call him, Tojam, the guy that came in for Dortmund, he was our last minute signing. Guys like that who were fucking shite.
I think we're starting to lose a bit of Paddy's audio there. Yeah. I think we were about to agree.
Somebody's Wi-Fi is going crazy.
Aye, yours.
Is it? No, it's not.
Aye.
So me for a change.
Sorry. Aye. Everything's all positive here. The signs that we're seeing now are great because we've done our business early. As we've started doing the business early, we're going out spending the money. We're no fucking about. We're getting what the manager wants. Great stuff. Michael Nicholson, I don't know too much about you, but the signs are looking good so far.
Put it this way, and I'm in full agreement with you. And just another way to look at it: for the last 5 seasons, the 5 Januaries before this one, there's 0 player that we signed, be it on loan or whatever, that made any fucking difference. We've just signed 3 players who we all can see as Ange Postecoglou's signings, who are going to walk straight into that match day squad. Starting 11, maybe not, but straight into the match day squad. You have to go back further before you find 1 or 2 per January window, but nothing to the stage of 3 signs that the manager wants right then and then. I think it's a great start to the window.
There's a great comment for Davy Boy Celtic. John Joe Kenny is by far the worst ever January signing. Utter rank. No wonder Everton have overpaid for Patterson. Well, I would certainly agree with you there. He was a fucking disaster when he came up here. But I tell you what, Davy, the worst signing I've ever seen, the worst player I've ever seen coming in January was Ollie Burke. That guy is the worst football player I have ever seen in my life. How he's became a football player, I'll never know.
He was like a flat track bully. Yeah. Right, finishing off, I know that we're at the hour mark, so we don't want to linger on for too long. I know that some people have got early bedtimes, but I thought just for a bit of fun, you'll get tucked in soon enough. But one kind of fun thing to kind of finish it off, I know that it's the 4th of January, but just focusing on the last 12 months, I thought a couple of unofficial awards that we could dish out to the Celtic players currently and who may have left us, such as like surprise package of the year of the past 12 months. I know that kind of bridges between the current season and the previous tail end of last season. But for me, surprise package, I have to go with Anthony Ralston. Would anybody disagree?
I want to. I want to disagree. But no, you can't really. He has been a massive surprise package, especially obviously this season. He's turned his own career around, let alone turn around the fortunes of Celtic and helping shore up that defence. We needed somebody to come in. We needed a lot of people to come in to make an entire new back line plus goalkeeper. We got a goalkeeper. We got Carter Vickers. Starfelt started to come onto his game. We got a rejuvenated Ralston. I think he is the biggest surprise package, turnaround, overachiever, whatever you want to call it. I want to, because I still have that fear he's going to be Tony Ralston the last 3 seasons, but he's not. He's just a superb player this year.
Aye. One thing that I was surprised about, I read in one of his interviews about him turning things around, was he said that having a daughter was one of his inspirations, and he's like a young guy, he's like 22 years old, and speaking from experience, having fathered so many Waynes around Glasgow, I know that it does kind of change your life. So I think that was a big inspiration for the man. Paddy, who would you say was your young player of the year?
Young player of the year?
I should have given you some preparation in this one, I'm sorry.
No, I prefer it when they're off the cuff. Young player of the year, who have we got? It's going to be Ralston.
Well, that's a boring choice, because what would you say? Sorry, mate, I'm being your heart.
Well, you asked me the same fucking question.
I think Ralston takes a lot. I mean, you look at the second half of last season, and I don't think many. We covered this already in the early podcast in the summer. I don't think there's many players last year at any part of the season last season get any real pass marks. The likes of maybe McGregor gets leeway a little bit because we've established that he was playing in a side that was, having Scott Brown basically playing as a third centre back, so he was struggling to find what position he was meant to play. But that's given him excuses. Last season was so poor. I don't think many of us can pick any player, so most of our points are probably going to be based off the last 4 or 5 months. And Tony Ralston takes a lot.
Stephen Welsh, a noticeable mention.
Noticeable mention, but I think Tony Ralston, considering that he is a starter every single game for Celtic this season, is proof that he is outshining. I'm not going to say better than Stephen Welsh, but he's outshining Stephen Welsh at this stage.
Ralstonino.
Again, I can't read this because I'm using my phone and it's so far away. Somebody want to read that comment out, please?
Ralstonino has been brilliant. Just shows what a difference it makes having someone coaching you that believes in you and encourages you to make mistakes and learn and not just be subbed for the year. I absolutely agree with that. We're getting the faces later, but what was the next one, Gav?
Biggest disappointment.
Barkas.
Of the year, aye.
Of the year, Barkas.
Of the year, aye.
I had such high hopes of him. I had really high expectations. And with Ange Postecoglou coming in, new season, new start, and all rest, I had even higher expectations from him this year. Wasn't a big fan of signing Joe Hart in the first place. Glad to be in those words. But Barkas is such a disappointment. For me, he's such a disappointment.
Big Barkas.
And more so than Shane Duffy?
Yeah. Did Shane Duffy play much this calendar year? He got drops after a while.
He
didn't really play too much.
He was doing a couple of shows in the Hydro with Westlife, or whatever they're called. Boyzone, whatever the fuck they're called. Biggest disappointment for me this year is Neil Lennon. I know it's not a player, but a guy that's totally... move on, sorry. Just go.
We did a 2-hour episode of Neil Lennon and Paddy still fucking...
I'm not staying here for 2 hours, come on. I've got a bed to get to.
Fucking 3 hours in.
Right. No. Anyway, so apart from those wee pishy awards that we just gave out there, I hope the players feel very happy with that. So January transfer window has been very, very promising, and there's still a few more weeks to go. I don't think I've really got any other expectations apart from hopefully making Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers permanent. But the next game we've got, tell me if I'm wrong, is it like the 17th of January?
Yeah.
Yes, Hibs, isn't it?
Aye. Is that home or away?
Reunion. I think that's at home, that one, is it? I feel like we played them at Easter Road recently. I feel like Paddy's Googling this, hopefully, and going to tell us.
Me? No.
I'll do it myself.
I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic.
Good, because I can't.
Yes, home. So that's a quarter to kick-off on a Monday night.
Oh, it's going to be fucking
Monday night. Jesus.
Yes, quarter to 8. So that's good then. We'll cover that on the Tuesday then, which will be Tuesday the 18th. We'll just cover that the weekly roundup with the game.
Well, there's a few things, Gavin. I know this is going to be a bit off the kind of out the blue for you, as such, and maybe it's a bit premature to say out loud to the guys who are listening and watching. Me and Paddy have been discussing a few different ways that we can put some content out there to keep the paying fans pleased and whet their appetites. Maybe we'll use that Monday night as a way to get like the Twitter spaces and stuff like that. We'll use different media to try and push it, but we'll definitely cover it maybe in the weekly roundup as a bigger podcast.
If anybody wants to subscribe to my OnlyFans page, I'll be sitting there with my plants.
I can promise you all, it is not worth
it. Go on, make Paddy money, go.
Jiggly. Paddy the baddie. Aye. I think we've just lost half of our subscriber base for that comment.
Aye, that's not bad. We were doing well, by the way. Listen, everybody that's been watching along was 80 odd people. Thanks very much. If I've just put you off there, shake my shimmy down. by all means, jump over to my OnlyFans page. I'll put the link in the description.
So, guys, in case you've been sending me any WhatsApp messages on the fly, I cannot see them. So I guess we're going to kind of wrap things up right now. But again, a massive happy new year to the viewers. Thank you so much for supporting us. I know that, Paddy, you put a really nice touching message on Facebook a few days ago. That kind of really reflected our feelings for the podcast.
I was obscenely pushed.
Mate, I actually read really, really nicely. So again, what we've done for the past few months for the podcast since the season started, we've been loving it, absolutely loving it, and it's growing slowly but surely. So for everybody who's been with us on the journey so far, thank you so much. We wouldn't have the same passion and enthusiasm if you guys weren't with us so far. So thank you for that. I wish you a very, very happy year and all the best wishes to you and your family for the next 12 months to come. But anyway, before I waffle on any much further, again, hit us with a like button, subscribe, leave a comment. We want to hear from you guys. Any kind of parting comments for you guys before we finish up for tonight?
Just a couple of comments there. Fud Roaster, I know you've been commenting all night, mate. Thanks for that. Great, by the way, a fucking absolute legendary name, Fud Roaster, love it. Just found this cast. Thanks, good chat. I will join again, mate. You're more than welcome. And
Cheers,
Davey
mate.
boy, I know you're quite regular as well. Pushed? No, I'll take that as sarcasm, mate. Aye, absolutely.
There's been a fair few comments tonight, guys. I've been reading them on the side as well from Snick, from the various Josephs, Davy Boys, Kevin, Somerset. Brilliant comments seeing them come in, and brilliant seeing the people here watching us. What we'll do is I'll steal a lot of thunder from Gavin, because I know he hates rhyming these off. Everybody give us a wee follow on the likes of our Twitter at Jungle Gyms Pod. Follow us on Facebook at the Jungle Gyms Podcast. We're on TikTok, Jungle Gyms Podcast as well. All the usual places. The only thing we pretty much don't have is an actual OnlyFans, but that is apparently ongoing. But there is a link tree. But the best place to find us is the best place is honestly to find us on Twitter, where we are being as active as we can just now, and we're pushing a lot more content and trying to keep you guys up to date. So thank you very much for everybody being here.
Aye, and I'll sign that off as well. There's a wee favour, guys, on YouTube. Sorry, my false teeth nearly fell out. Jump onto YouTube if you've enjoyed it. Just hit subscribe. That'd be a massive big help to us. Keeps us up to date with you guys. Hopefully, gives a wee hand there.
Careful now. Aye. Again, aye. Let's finish up there.
Just do it.
Cheerio, guys.
Cheerio, guys.